Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization that's committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles to people throughout the world. Today, we have Cherie Ray with us. Cherie is a Three Principles coach and consultant residing in Houston, Texas. She brings her uncommon blend of caring, experience, and commitment to her work to support her clients in experiencing a deep understanding of how people universally operate, how possibilities and opportunities can be seen, and how the creative process works. From this new perspective, clients see how fresh change, innovation, and connection can happen effortlessly. Her work supports leaders and teams in all disciplines of business and science, as well as individuals, couples, families, and groups. And you can learn more about Cherie at www.cherieray.com. I'm going to post that under the YouTube recording as well. So if you want to get in touch with Cherie down the road, you can go to her website. So Cherie, thank you so much for doing this. We were just chatting before about the fact that we met back in 2014 probably, but this is the first time I think you're doing a webinar with us. So I'm really happy to hear what you have to share.
Cool. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you. And, I would really love for this to just be fun for all of us. So wide open and fun. I really appreciate the Three Principles Global Community because they provide so much free stuff for the viewing. There's more than, I don't know how Bonnie gets them all on the website, but there's a ton of information that is there on every topic available. And I'm very grateful to them. So thanks, 3PCG. So luckily today, I get to talk about something that is so near and dear to my heart. And it's kind of like a topic that's been like back to what Bonnie was saying, 6 years in the making, because I kind of came onto this understanding about in 2013. So absolutely by accident. I can't even tell you. I'm in a conversation with a group of people on a webinar, and I'm like, I'm not really sure why I'm here, but y'all will have to catch me up on all this three principles stuff. And it was kind of funny that the conversation from that point forward, saying yes has been a big deal a really big deal in waking up to what's on offer in life versus what my mind is made up about life. So I do practice here in Houston, Texas. I do, in a city this size, I've had the opportunity to work with scientists and physicians and engineers, all kind of disciplines, individuals, groups, teams, couples, teenagers, families. So I get the opportunity to show up and have conversations like this with all kinds of people. And I'm so grateful, so grateful. I love what I do. But today, what came to mind for me that was so fun was the topic of saying yes to life. I know I'm slow on the uptick, but this year it really woke me up that I was saying yes to life. I have to say there was something having me say yes to life, and it wasn't the rational return on investment kind of business girl that I'd always been. It had to make sense logically. Like I said, return on investment, all these things had to make sense. But I saw that this year that there was something, I'll have to say something much, you can't hear me, Diane? Diane can't hear?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was checking the chat, so Diane couldn't hear. So it all kind of started back in 2013 where I kind of got introduced to this understanding. And shortly thereafter, I knew I wanted to know more about what all of this three principle stuff was. I didn't know what it was. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know what you're talking about. And so it was right about this time. That's kind of funny. It's right about this time that I had gotten very curious, and I'd investigated several ways that I could learn more. And it was this time of year I had been given an invitation to participate in a particular program that I said, well, that's just completely stupid. I mean, that's way too much money. It makes no sense. I don't even know what these things are about, and I don't even know what I'm doing. And I'll say it was one of the greatest insights I had, because I was sitting at my kitchen table by myself, no one's in the house. And I am mad as hell at the world, because this whole notion of doing this program or not doing this program is ruining my holidays. I am quite certain it's ruining my holidays. But as I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm looking around, and I have no one to blame. I can't blame my husband. He's like, go do it. Go do it. I can't blame. I mean, there's nobody to blame. And the conk on the head in that moment was so loud that I was the only one that wasn't saying yes. I'm the only one that's not saying yes. And it got to be so obvious that I didn't even know what to do with that big of a piece of information. So in that moment that I realized it was just me and I had nobody I could point to, and it was just my state of mind that was telling me, no, this doesn't make sense. This is ridiculous. I was kind of sitting in the middle of a world that I created. I'm the only one that's saying no. So I kind of played this game, and I've never played one. You'll probably hear this a lot, but I never played this game with God before. But it was like, I'm over this whole topic. I am over this whole topic. I was like, come Monday, this is like a Friday or Saturday. I said, come Monday, it's a poop or get off the pot day, and I want a sign. I don't want a halfway sign. I want a sure sign that either to do this thing or not. And then I'm going to take that answer and go. Well, so come Monday, I'm working away, and I get back to my phone about lunchtime, and there's a message from this person that's heading this program and says, can you give me a call? I'm like going, this God stuff is serious, because I had never put it out there to God saying, give me a sign and give me a sign that I can't argue with. And it was this person about this program saying, I think you need to do this program. And I'm going, I'm just shaking my head. I'm shaking my head. So I was like, I don't know. At that moment, I said, I'm in. I'm just saying yes. So what I found, like in that first year of saying yes, all the while my mind is giving me constant feedback on why it wasn't a good idea, but my life is changing dramatically the whole time. And every single thing that my mind had an objection to was a nothing, was absolute nothing, whether it was airfares or how's this going to work and how's that going to work and all this, and absolute nothing. So that in that saying yes, it got me to really wake up to how there is a limitless nature to life, completely limitless nature. Like it is such a clean slate of possibility. And I was so kind of gobsmacked at how we get so far away from being oriented to the limitlessness behind life. There's no limit to trees. There's no limit to humans. There's just no limit anywhere. But as human beings, I think it's a human frailty to, I don't know why we get so far away from the truth behind life, that life is limited, that in every moment, life is rich with potential and possibility, in every moment. And so I'm fascinated about why we don't step into that more often. You know, why limitlessness and full potential and possibility is the nature of life. Why don't we see it? Why don't we see it all the time? You know, why don't we live there and visit the land of limitation? But we tend to live in the land of limitation and visit possibility when we think our circumstances are in the right place. And it's all such an illusion. It's all such a game of it's all such a game as Sid Banks talks about, like, it's all such a game about the role of thought, how it's playing out in every moment of our life while we're sitting in limitless nature, absolute limitless truth about life. It's not partial, it's not sometimes, it's not when the stars align. I mean, it's a present 100% of the time. So as that started, like in 2013, I got like another one of these big conks on the head in 2017. And something occurred to me. I heard something in the periphery, an opportunity that somebody else was participating in. And of course, here's my mind goes, well, you know, that invitation didn't come your way. I heard it like from across the room. But something said, check it out. Again, check it out. So when I found out what the opportunity was, and it was more crazy than the first one. It was bigger and grander and more impossible to my mind than I could conceive. And it was like a slam dunk. Like, there's no way, no way, no way, no way. And what happened was, again, I know it wasn't me that flipped the yes switch, but I said, I'm going to say yes. And I don't know how the details are going to work out. I don't know how it's going to unfold. But I flipped the switch. I said yes. And again, it was a non-event in the sense of what my mind was assessing an impossibility. And so I think in that place of really orienting to what's true and stepping into what's true, both about life and about each one of us, because we are that same potential. We're that same limitless potential, rich with possibility all the time. That the part I believe is so helpful to get onto, and these are like three of the points that I think are so helpful to get onto, is that we really, really believe the world operates the way we see it. I certainly did. You know, like, maybe some people can do that, but I can't do that. Maybe that works for them, but it's not part of my reality to take 5 weeks off and just take a deep dive. I mean, all these things are not part of my reality at the time, but I really saw that I really believed in my mind that was the way the world operates. And it helped me wake up that, no, that's not the way the world operates. That's purely the way your mind is operating on this topic, on anything that's kind of outside the fringe of, you know, the fringe of Cherie Ray permission land, you know, that anything beyond that is I think my mind lives in a feasibility study, you know, and it sits in this feasibility study of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, can, can't. And luckily, until, I'm not gonna say luckily, I don't know if it's luck or not, but until I saw the role of thought in this game of life unfolding, I think I'd still be under that spell that life works the way I see it, scripted by my very clever, quiet, subtle mine. And that the notion of a limitless nature behind life is, it all sounded like platitudes, I'd have to say. It was platitudes, but in I think in that same batch of feasibility studies, I think it's also, we make up this, the way the world works, and it looks so real and true to us. But I think in that same way, we make up who I am and what I could do. The world operates a certain way, and this is what could work for me or not work for me. And both of those things are such grand illusions or compilations of ideas. That's nowhere near the truth, because whether it's me or whether it's life or whether it's the nature of life, there's an incredible intelligence that's, I think, extending an invitation, constantly extending an invitation. And once we catch on to what invitations my mind will let me really play with or entertain, that's the only gatekeeper. Whether you say yes or no, it doesn't matter. But I think the leverage in seeing that there's a gatekeeper of yes or no, and that gatekeeper is going to be the role that my conditioned mind is going to play. And I think you don't even have to know much about it, other than can I be suspicious about what I'm making up about this opportunity or invitation. So I say that because so ever since then, subtly and not so subtly, I've been saying yes for no good reason, because I feel like I've got nothing to lose. I mean, I really, 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 I have nothing to lose, because as a mentor of mine told me, they said, well, a consequence is going to be thought too. You have to think about it being a consequence. And if you're comfortable with whatever you're making up could happen, there's not a consequence. And I was like, ooh, once again, the limitless nature comes back and surprises me, because there's cause and effect and things happen. But if you can be comfortable with whatever the outcome is, you can see what wants to come next. So, and I'm kind of curious if there's anything you have a curiosity or even a reflection on saying yes, or even why that interested you to be on the call. I'd love to make it an open conversation and just kind of exploring it.
Claudette, I'm trying to, there you go.
I get it. Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. Cherie, I just love this conversation because saying yes to life really has been a theme and tension, I don't know really what to call it, for several months now. And I see that the more I just entertain that question, like, what if I said yes? The more beautifully life is unfolding in ways that honestly I could never orchestrate. And I just want to quickly share a story of what happened this morning about saying yes, is that I wanted to go out to dinner tonight with my partner's got something else going on. I thought it'd be kind of fun to go out to dinner, and I invited one woman, and she said, "Oh, I'd love to, but I can't." So I invited another woman, and she emailed me back and said, "Would love to, but I'm actually going to this poetry reading in this other event. Would you like to come?" And I thought, I don't want to do a social thing. I don't want to do a holiday gathering and have to chit chat and blah 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 blah. But yet there was something in me that said, what about this invitation? And so I sat with it for a while, and what I got was something actually very beautiful, which is, what if the only thing I have to do is show up? I mean, I don't have to be social. I don't have to be clever. I don't have to be chatty. I don't have to be in the holiday spirit. What if I just show up? as me, nothing added. Wouldn't that be an interesting experiment? So I said yes to the invitation, and I'm actually really quite excited about going and really just showing up and seeing what happens, you know. So
I
yeah,
love that,
it's
Claudette.
fun. Yeah, yeah.
I love that because I did the same thing with a family reunion thing this weekend, and I was like, oh man, and I was like, I thought the same insight came to me that came to you. It's like, what if you just show up and just listen to whoever's talking? Just look at them and listen. You don't have to say a word. They're not going to ask anything of you. Just show up and make it a practice of just listening. Maybe they haven't had anybody listen to them. Like Bonnie and I were talking a little bit earlier. It's like, what if I just listened to them? I had the best day. I had the best day. I can't even tell you. But to that point of saying yes, in the midst of like, oh, I don't know, you heard all the
Yeah,
the predictable commentary that shows up. But I think if we don't take the bait on that predictable commentary and just stay open, then to what just happened to you and what happened to me, a possibility shows up that hadn't been there.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden this aliveness kind of comes into you, you know?
yeah.
I think we live squelching down all this aliveness by not saying yes. And then we say yes. And then if we get outside the story of how we think it's going to be, something new shows up.
Yeah, yeah. So this topic is so perfect for it and timely for me. So I just really thank you for doing this.
Oh, I love the topic. I love the topic because
Me
it
too,
just
yeah.
gets bigger. Life gets real big
Yeah,
in a real kind of, to me, an enthusiasm, hopeful way,
mhm.
you know, which shows me that if, you know I'm no magician, but if there was less of me in every moment of the day, I think it'd feel a whole lot better. Because there's so much aliveness in life. If I don't poo-poo on it.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. Good.
Thank you,
Thanks, Cherie.
Claudette.
Yeah.
Hey, Phyllis.
Zoe,
Phyllis, did you have your hand raised?
I noticed, Zoe, you're not muted. Did you want to talk?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
No.
Anybody else?
Nope, it's
Well-
Drew. I'm just saying hi. Uh-oh.
Hi, this is Lisa.
Hi.
You there?
Lisa.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Hi, Cherie.
What's happening?
So,
I can hear you, Lisa.
am I interrupting? Okay. I didn't want to interrupt somebody else. Yeah, so I've been thinking about saying yes and what that means, and since you started out with that workshop I didn't go to, and but you know, I mean, I've been saying yeah. I recognize also that, like, when I say yes to something, there's also a no to something else that just happens automatically, and so that I better say yes to something that takes the place of the no. That's a whole lot better. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm
So,
not
like,
sure.
if you
Say it
say,
another way.
well, let's just say, you know, I decide I'm going to go somewhere and spend $5,000. I'm going to lose $5,000, and I'm going to not be working in that period of time. So I'm saying no to, I don't know what. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's always something, like, you're always replacing yes for something else. So if I'm stuck, you know, if I'm stuck in my life and I'm craving something else and I want to say yes to something else, I'm going to be saying no to what I'm stuck in. That's all. That's all I'm going to be saying no to, is what I'm freaking stuck in. There's nothing lost there, you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, so, or else, like, say I, you know, am losing my sense of security by saying yes to something, right? Don't we all want, like, to feel safe and secure and, you know, not go out on a limb that's too scary, you know? That's, and yet when we, do that, we find we're okay. See?
Absolutely.
And then, like you said, the floor comes up in front of you, sort of, like it's not as scary as the mind thinks.
Totally. Totally.
But
Totally.
I haven't figured out what I want to say yes to. That's my problem. Like I do know some things, and I am really willing and more willing to do. But there's always the when the timing is right kind of thing, and that's okay too sometimes, right? But it's kind of exciting to think about what kind of yeses there are out there that I'm missing. So that
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the fun part is even having a hole in the story, having a hole poked in the story that I'm threatening my security. It's like, well, my security is not going to come from anything outside of me anyway. So, but it's great to play with a solid, a solid understanding about there's a hole in every story that our mind's going to feed us, because it's a product of thought, So there's no right or wrong answer. Say yes or don't say yes. I think the leverage is in knowing that we're kind of getting marketed to all the time, by what our conditioned self tells us all the time. And if we get onto the fact that it's one of the most brilliant marketing systems in the world, because we buy into it all the time. I mean, I think if the Home Shopping Network could figure out what that formula was, they'd be so happy, because if they could always get their clients to buy in, man, they'd be off the chart. But our mind does that, and we buy into it, and then it comes with a strong feeling of whatever it is. So it's a brilliant marketing system. But to know it's a marketing system and not life giving me accurate feedback, that's great leverage. You don't need to do anything with it.
Cherie,
I think that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just to add to that, I think that when you're kind of saying yes, you might be kind of riding a wave, and actually, in the unknown, it's easy. It's not hard. It's just sort of allowing instead of saying no, which is you were fighting so hard, but when you said yes, it became easier, right?
Yep.
All right.
Well, sometimes it's not so easy. It's not so easy, but to what Claudette was pointing to, there was something else that there's something that the intelligence behind life, that to me, that limitless nature behind life wants us to find it, and it to find us. And, even when it makes no sense at all, even when it's thought in the moment and you can be all rational with it, there's, to Claudette's point, it's like something else just said, do it. Just say yes to it. Because it comes with a great feeling. I think saying yes comes with a great feeling if you'll let yourself say it and let that feeling kind of inform you. It kind of takes some of the booga out of the unknown, because it kind of brings up, you don't know, nobody knows what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, but it takes some of the edge off. Samaya, did you have a question?
Oh, I just quickly wanted to just share a little thing that's come in for me listening to this conversation, listening to, I think it was Lisa, the last person who was commenting. I'm not sure because there's no name on the screen, but I think it was Lisa. Is that, I love what you're describing, Cherie. I really do. It's awesome. I also love this topic, and I love hearing you describe how you've opened up and said yes. But one of the things that's been really alive for me around saying yes is not having any preconceived notion at all about what might show up when I'm open to saying yes, because it might be absolutely nothing. right? What might show up is, hang tight, everything is just right the way it is. Or what might show up as a new idea and a move to do something new. Or what might show up as something happening, like a person showing up or an opportunity or a door opening. And it's funny when I've caught myself having a preconceived notion of the form that it might take. Like if I surrender to saying yes, that it will take the form of something outside of me happening, or it'll take the form of a new, and the truth is you never have any idea. And it might often be nothing at all, and an invitation to just really enjoy exactly how things are in the moment. And that's also saying yes. So it's like not having any idea whatsoever and what form that might take, the open doors. You know?
Totally. And then something feels so, like there's like a little rough patch of like discomfort, like, and then something else relaxes and we, it's like, kind of like, they're like those days when have you had those days where it's completely booked, and then like within 15 minutes, everything that was in that day falls apart, and then you're like, at first you're like, and then all of a sudden, like, if you can just get over that hump, there's a sweetness that comes up. And then all of a sudden you see all these possibilities of that weren't even there when the day was full. And things you never imagined, but it can come with such a sweet feeling once you get over that initial speed bump of, I don't know what this nothingness is bringing or what this nothingness offers, but I'm really a solid believer that nothingness tends to bring a really sweet feeling.
Well, and what's really funny is sometimes, what shows up is something that our personal mind would classify as not so good.
Okay.
like and just really quickly, a really funny one this week is my husband just wrote a blog that we just put out about digital decluttering and all the awesome quietness that comes by spending less time on email and phone and all this stuff. And the day after, his hard drive completely kaputted, like gone. Computer died.
Are you serious?
Yeah, literally the day after we published it, his computer died, and it meant, and actually he hadn't backed it up. Anyway, long story, he hadn't backed it up, and so all of a sudden we were playing with this funny questions about, well, who are you without your data? Who are you without everything on that computer? And so it took what he was experiencing and just took it to a whole new depth. So very funny how that can happen. But it could look like a tragedy, but it really wasn't.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that, I mean, you couldn't have anticipated that. Could you even imagine? It's like, you want to play with that? Let's play with this, huh?
Exactly. We had quite a chuckle. Like, really? You just wrote this yesterday and today the computer dies? Oh, excellent. Okay. Saying yes to the computer death. So. Yeah.
I mean, I just love that he wrote about digital decluttering, just said yes to writing about that. Could let the inspiration come and say yes to writing that to the inspiration.
It's a great article that Jason wrote, and it's worthy of reading. It's because it's much more than just taking time off from our devices. Yeah,
absolutely. So how can they read that, Samaya?
Oh, it's on our website, blue.coaching.org, and it's very top of the menu. There's a blog, and it's the latest one.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Cherie. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thanks for coming to the call. Anybody else hearing anything?
Well, I just wanted to say, as you began speaking, I was thinking about all the things that that years ago I would say yes to out of like fear of what would happen if I didn't, like just like, and or how much physical, mental, or emotional pain I had to be in before I said yes, because I was operating from such a intellectual level of decision making. Like I wouldn't do something that just like the feeling wasn't available to me. It was just weighing the positives and negatives and the whole intellectual, and how far how grateful I am that how far I've come from that, like the feeling is just such a beautiful guide.
Absolutely. I love that, because it's like that, all of those, oh my gosh, all that stuff we thought we had to say yes to was all made up too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, go ahead.
No, but I mean, just that part about that, again, the leverage is in seeing that anything that we feel obligated, that looks like it's set, I love that example of, oh my goodness, you couldn't wear white pants before Easter. It's like, that's thought too, that's thought too. And I, what I mean? But it's like all that stuff you want to just get onto, that no, all that's just thought carried forward in that game of, you can say, no to whatever, and you can say yes, but it's catching on to that it was all made up in the first place and carried forward.
Yeah.
That if it's not limited, it comes with the good feeling that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. About a year and a half ago, I had that inner impulse to say yes to a alternative medical treatment. And I went down there and I had a lot of thought about, are my symptoms detoxing, or are my symptoms telling me, that I shouldn't do it? And I just kind of went back and forth. And then I was just there for a couple months. And then one day I woke up and said, okay, I'm done. And I saw how in the past I would have made it mean, oh, you were misled. That wasn't your wisdom guiding you. But this was like, I don't know what I got out of it or not, other than the experience of doing it. And who's to say whether it doesn't matter what, it didn't have anything out on the outcome of it. I just had something like I followed, and I felt good for following regardless of the outcome. And that's really precious to me.
Absolutely.
Saying yes is like, there's some preciousness of saying yes to me, saying yes to guidance, saying yes to mind, saying yes to wisdom, with nothing on the outcome or direction, just to say yes and follow in the moment. So thank you for helping me through kind of my personal journey through that.
Yeah, totally, Ellen.
So yeah, I love that. Just saying yes and not knowing or thinking of what the outcome is. And I want to give an example of what happened to me, because I was saying yes to going to Norway with someone and meeting them there. And what happened is a friend of mine came into the picture who had lost her eyesight because of some cornea damage, and didn't have anybody to care for her. And I canceled my trip, which was a big say yes, and stayed home to help her. And she's living with me until she gets a cornea transplant. But that experience was a different kind of say yes, because then what that gave me was like healing and a feeling of what is important in life, and like a really spiritual kind of an experience, beyond anything that I probably would have gotten by seeing Norway, although that would have been awesome and I could still go back. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it seemed almost like the wrong decision in a way, in a way, like, well, I'm not family, how come somebody else can't, or how can I jump into this, and what kind of a commitment is that going to be, and along, blah, 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 blah. Your mind can go blah, blah, blah. But I just felt intuitively that I could do it, and it was the right thing, and that was it. And I just made that decision spontaneously. I just canceled the trip, and I just stayed home. And so that kind of a say yes gave me a whole nother meaning on life, a whole nother richness, that it wasn't a big leap, but it was important. It was important to do. So that's another reason why I missed your workshop too. But so yeah, so that's kind of like the thing about you. Sometimes you end up saying no to one thing, and then the other thing teaches you something about saying yes to something that you don't think you can do, but you do anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you, how has your saying yes to these things that you explained changed you?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm kind of sit back in awe so often because, I love that saying about you can't know what you don't know. And I've been, by saying yes, things have come to my life, and it's not even about the things, but a rich feeling has come to my life that I didn't think was possible ever. And it was so far beyond my individual comprehension of how good life could be, or how rich life could feel, or how enthusiastic you could naturally be about life for no good reason. Not because circumstances are good, but for no good reason. There's just a natural hopefulness about life. I didn't know that was true about life. I really didn't know that. So while it's given me many opportunities and put me in places I never saw myself being, all of that is kind of a sidebar to the richness and the fullness that just starts to be the place you make camp. I would have never thought that was possible. And I'll go with living in a better feeling and visiting the caca feelings more of the time, I used to live in a real caca feeling and visit a good feeling. But like I said, I really like the idea of just living with, to me, what looks very true, that life is very full of potential possibility and hopefulness or enthusiasm for life as a default setting. I would have never imagined that. But that by saying yes to the invitations that have come to my door in ways that it never made sense has just shown me a vast number of worlds that I didn't even know existed. Realities I didn't know existed, and definitely feelings I didn't know existed for me. Does that answer your question, Lisa?
Yeah. I mean, the feelings that's what's exciting to me, is just that, the expansion of different feelings and breaking. And if rules are broken, oh well. The rules in our head.
Exactly. I think they were made to be broken if they were being adhered to way too closely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Hey, Phyllis. Did you have your hand raised, Phyllis? Hey, Bonnie, I think Phyllis has her hand raised.
I don't.
iPhone has her hand raised.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I had a question for you, Cherie, when you were talking about this experience, and saying yes to it at the beginning of what you were saying. I'm curious about something. Did you find that this organization, the three principles, was that part of, this learning how to say yes to doing all these things?
Well, I think it showed me the operating system that every human being lives under.
Okay.
and how, as human beings, as all human beings, operate and have an experience of life in the exact same way. And it showed me the fundamental operating system of a human being and the role that thought plays in a human being's experience of life. So as it sounds so pedantic, but I was really surprised to hear that people think and people believe what they think. And I was a thinker and I believed what I thought. That cracked the world open for me.
Okay, and what way did it crack the world open for you? I'm not quite following it, just 100%, and I'm sure that's because of, my thoughts and, my experiences, and so on, beliefs, whatever. Yeah, so I'm curious as to how that, what you mean by it cracked your thought open, or whatever your term was. Yeah.
Well, because it's so subtle, like inside my head as I was experiencing life,
yeah,
I really thought I was seeing life, that everybody was seeing the life the same way I saw life.
okay.
Okay. Now, when I realized that life, how I'm seeing life is what my mind is offering me in the moment, and that it's random, anything. I'm not in control of what I'm thinking. I can't control what I'm thinking. Anything is up for grabs that goes through my mind of what I'm thinking. Whatever I was thinking, it created the reality of it being, it's not broken Cherie thought. I thought I would have thoughts and think there must be something wrong with me if I had this kind of thinking. That it's like, no, it's thought passing through, and that every other human being on the planet is living in a stream of thought that looks like life, not just looks like a snapshot of my state of mind in the moment. Does that help any fellas?
Well, yeah.
So I'll say it cracked me open because it's like, oh my gosh, there's more to life than what my mind is serving up,
And so you found, like, whatever your limiting beliefs were at the time that were telling you to, no, I can't do this. You found that there was a kind of I don't even know what the word would be, but I kind of lost my train of thought there. So anyway, I'm kind of getting in the nitty gritty, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think what you're pointing to, Phyllis, is real helpful, because I'll even say that my state of mind at the before I understood that it was just my state of mind, I really thought I was broken and that there was something that desperately needed to be fixed for me to be okay in the world.
Yeah. So,
it was more than thought. It was reality. I was a broken Cherie, defective, whatever you want to call it, that I've totally thought that was true.
Yeah, I can see that, because I know when I was teaching, that I ran across that a lot with people thinking that they were broken and they needed to fix something, and by somehow, anyway, the grades and all that meant something, and it's not. It's like the knowledge meant something, and to help with their innate abilities already. Like if they were going into nursing, it was good to have the knowledge, but they had the common sense, they had the kindness, they had the spirit to, do the caring and nurturing, and that just, added to it. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Thank you, Phyllis. That's a great question.
Sure. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Well, cool. Well, I was thinking what I wanted to really share with this webinar was to really start to play with what's limitless about life, and just not drink the Kool-Aid so quickly about the first thought that comes to mind. You know, really starting to orient to the limitless nature of life versus what I like to call first responders. You know, first responders are all of those wave of very habitual thoughts that give you that feasibility study, the practicality, the yes, the no. And like Claudette mentioned from the very beginning, it's like, okay, those can come, those can go, but what's beyond that? We typically stop in that thought, our thought created world, that's life giving me feedback, not just not just thought in the moment. And just to play the game of, well, that if that has holes in it and life really is rich with potential, and I can step into pure potential and possibility all the time, what else might be out there? So I think in that, if you play the game of like, okay, but what else is possible? The door is always cracked. The door is cracked for the intelligence behind life to come in, and if it has a little space to land, you know, it might, and it gets your attention, it might be there to offer up something.
I just love that, Cherie. Thank you for suggesting that. You know,
My pleasure. Yeah, just life is limitless. I think we have such a great opportunity to get to play in the limitless nature of it. And it's like, wow, why would I waste time not playing with this limitless nature? I didn't know it existed before, but now I see it. It's like, why would I not play with it? You know, kind of like doing this webinar. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say, but the fact I don't know what I'm going to say and that I'm scared to do it's not going to stop me anymore. I'm going to do it anyway, just because I have to live the walk, even if I don't know what I'm going to do. Something will show up in the moment. And it seems to have, so. It seems to have, so yeah. Anybody else have a question or anything before we sign? I see we're getting close to our timing.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Natalie.
Hi. I was earlier. Sorry about that.
No, I'm glad you came back.
Yeah, I haven't been on a webinar in a long time. This kind of opened my mind to the conversation. I didn't know what to expect. Saying yes to life. I think it's a wonderful title. So it was refreshing and really fun to be on your webinar. So I just want to say thank you. And I don't know anybody here or anything like that. I'm new to this group. I don't know if you all know each other. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was great. I enjoyed it, even if I didn't get like all of it. But it opened my mind to say yes. And I got some good information from today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see your work on Facebook all the time. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm always creating, always painting, drawing. And like for the past year and a half, I took a position in a elementary school as a paraprofessional. And that's been like really a life changer. But I can't wait to get back into more of doing my business full time and just saying yes to my creativity and just doing more of what I really love. Not that I don't enjoy the work that I do in the school, but I still haven't found my place really. So I know there's something else for me where I want to say yes and not be scared that, oh, I'm not going to have any clients, I'm not going to have this, my business is not going to do well. Just go for it, say yes, and just not like just put the fears aside, because there's a lot to experience out there. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I love the idea that you can say yes and be scared. You can say yes and not know how you're going to do it, and you can say yes and just, back to Claudette, you can just show up, say yes and show up. This intelligence behind life is going to serve up something. You're not going to land with nothing. If you can just get over the uncomfortable bits of like not the space will, something will fill that space. And that's why we all love the creative process so much, you know, because we play with limitless nature when we play with creating anything, if we really just let ourselves go with it. And then we get surprised again and again and again, and it's never nothing. It's never nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, cool. Well, I can't thank you all enough for taking time out of your day for coming on this webinar and sharing in conversation. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, Cherie, so much fun.
And so I was like, I just love connecting with you guys. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. Thank you so much for doing it. And I just want to let everybody know we're having another webinar because of the holidays. They're kind of getting crunched up this month. So the next one is on Monday, the 16th, with Leela Turner. So hopefully you can join us then.
Absolutely. Leela's fun to listen to.
Oh, absolutely. She is. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.